Night shifts don't lie. They show you who actually knows their job and who just wants daylight hours. Nights fall into a pattern if you've worked enough of them. Handoff at 7, quiet settling in by 8, doors locked by 9, then the long stretch until dawn where every creak writes a question in your head. At our urgent care in Salem, it's a small crew after hours. 1 provider, 2 nurses, 1 MA, 1 front desk, and a security guard who sometimes looks like he wants to be anywhere else. I'm the charge nurse, so I keep to the desk where I can see the monitors and hear the radios. Nights are calm when you respect them, and brutal when you don't. May 6th, 2022 started like any other. We patched a kid's fever, handed out ginger ale to a man with a panic attack, stitched up a Walmart worker's hand after he argued with a shelf. By 11, the place was quiet enough for us to tease Lila, my MA, about her terrible coffee. Gabe at the front desk had put on one of his cardigans, which always meant the building felt colder than the thermostat admitted. Dr. C hummed while writing notes, which meant he was in a decent mood. Then, at 11:10, she walked in. She didn't come through the lobby like a patient. She came from the staff hallway, the way you'd come back from grabbing supplies. Navy scrubs, dark hair pulled into a bun that had loosened through the night. A badge clipped to her pocket, mask looped under her chin. "Hey," she said, sliding into the chair beside me. "Mind if I help with intake?" It didn't feel strange at first. Float nurses show up late, per diem staff come and go, and honestly, when someone offers to help at night, you don't complain. "Go for it," I told her. "I'm Jenna." "Taylor," she said, already opening the charting software. Her voice was calm. She typed like she'd done this before. Tiny errors, nothing alarming. I didn't question it. Lila came by for disinfectant wipes and waved at her like she'd been there all night. "Thanks for coffee earlier," she joked, and Taylor smiled without looking up. Nothing about her stood out. She wasn't awkward. She just sort of blended in. We had a walk-in 10 minutes later, a college kid with a busted knuckle. Taylor asked the right questions, tetanus history, allergies, and charted while I wrapped his hand. It was seamless. But around 12:40, when things calmed, I tried to add her to the timekeeping system. No Taylor matched her face. No license number in our system. "Can you badge in?" I asked. She gave me a small smile. It doesn't always like me. At 1:12, access denied. User Taylor P, the front door. The system doesn't guess names. It only shows what's programmed. I looked at her. She was typing calmly, as if nothing had happened. I asked Lila, "Did you see her come in?" Lila frowned. "I thought she was with you." Gabe at the desk said maybe she slipped in with a delivery. Security had no memory of buzzing her through. At 1:50, Taylor offered to restock room 4. I watched her walk down the hall with a clipboard. When I went to check 2 minutes later, the room was empty. Supply cart half open, drawer sticking out. No Taylor. We pulled the camera feeds. Around 11:05, she comes in right behind the last delivery of the night, slipping through the delivery gate like she belonged there. We switched to the footage from room 4 just before 2 a.m. She's walking out carrying a small bag stuffed with supplies. Then same angle back at the gate. She leaves through the very door she entered. Calm. No rush. After that, nothing. Her half-finished chart was still open. A sticky note by the keyboard. Remember to ask tetanus HX. House supervisor confirmed. No nurse named Taylor scheduled anywhere. 3 days later, PD called. A nurse in Eugene had her bag stolen 2 nights earlier. Badge inside. Same name, same face. We taped her still frame by the staff door. Do not admit without verification. But it wasn't what she did that unsettled me. It was how normal she was. Calm, helpful. Her voice when I offered coffee, "Black, thanks," plays in my head sometimes. I can't stop thinking, If she hadn't vanished, how long would we have let her stay? My name's Derek. I've been a school janitor most of my adult life. Nights suit me. No kids and no teachers. I like quiet. I like routine. I'd been working at Lincoln High long enough to know every quirk of the place. Which radiators bang, which windows never quite shut, which doors you have to lean on in the winter. I start with the first floor wings, sweep, mop, lock doors behind me, and work my way up. By the time I get to the second floor, the building is mine. That night, everything was normal. The cafeteria chairs stacked neatly, vending machines humming like oversized crickets, the smell of lemon disinfectant following me wherever I went. I'd locked room 208 just like always. Lights off, windows latched, tugged the handle to make sure. 15 minutes later, the motion sensor light in 208 clicked on. Those lights only trigger with movement. My first thought was draft, maybe a stray balloon. But this was January. No balloons, no breeze strong enough to fool a sensor. I walked back and leaned to the wired glass pane. That's when my eyes landed on him. A man, sitting at a student desk in the second row. Upright, hands folded, dark jacket zipped up, cap pulled low. He turned his head just enough that his eyes met mine through the glass, like he'd been waiting for me. My stomach clenched. The door was still locked. I twisted the handle again, solid. That meant he hadn't come in after me. He was just there. No wave, no smile, no explanation. Just calm acknowledgement like two strangers on a bus bench. I backed up slow, pulled out my radio. Second floor, room 208. Adult male inside, door locked from my side. My coworker Marty came up with his mop like it was a spear. He peered through the glass and muttered, "Well, that ain't right." Neither of us moved closer. I called dispatch. Lincoln High, second floor, room 208. Male subject inside a locked classroom. Doesn't appear to be staff or parent. Aware, calm. They said officers were en route. So we waited. If you've never stood in a school hallway at night with someone staring at you from inside a locked room, let me tell you, silence is different then. In daylight, it feels like a pause. At night, it feels like the building is listening back. I stayed where I could see both the door and the stairwell. Marty tried to whisper a joke, something about students sneaking in, but his voice fell flat. The man didn't fidget, didn't scratch his nose, didn't adjust his jacket. That bothered me most. Even patience has little tells. He had none. Every couple of minutes, I looked at the clock above the lockers. Each minute stretched like gum. My palms started to sweat around the key ring, even though the hall was cool. I couldn't shake the thought, if he was in there with the door locked, he wanted to be. Finally, 2 officers arrived. One older, calm, one younger, alert but tense. They looked through the glass, saw what we saw. The older officer said, "We see him." He knocked. "Police. Sir, we're going to open this door." I unlocked it with my key, felt the tumblers click, and pulled it open. The man stood, smooth, like he'd been waiting for that exact cue. His hand went into his jacket. The younger officer barked, "Hands up!" But instead he pulled a pistol. The hallway exploded with sound, shouts, desks scraping, boots thudding. The older officer lunged, grabbed his arm, slammed him against the whiteboard tray. The gun clattered to the floor. The younger officer shoved him down, radio crackling as he yelled, "Suspect armed!" From the hall, I caught flashes. The black pistol sliding under a desk, a chair toppling. I heard grunts, the scrape of shoes, the smack of a fist. "Drop it! Control the arm!" Commands barked over the chaos. Then cuffs snapped. The fight drained out. They dragged him upright, face scraped, jacket twisted, hands pinned behind his back. And as they walked him past me, he turned his head and looked at me. calm as ever, like he wanted to remember exactly who I was. That look stayed with me more than the gun. They bagged the weapon, loaded, safety off, round chambered. The district called a meeting the next morning. Words like rare incident and reviewing protocols got thrown around. HR handed out flyers about vigilance. The union rep asked what we were supposed to do if it happened again. Nobody had a real answer. The cops told me later he had priors: trespassing, theft. Nothing violent on paper. Nothing that explained why he walked into a high school at night with a loaded gun. I went back to work that night because not going back would have felt like letting him own the building. But I changed how I worked. I tugged every lock twice. I kept one hand on my keys as I walked. Routine used to make me feel safe. After that night, routine felt more like hope, something I wanted to believe in, not something I could rely on. Now, every time I pass room 208, I pause. Sometimes I even say evening out loud, like acknowledging the space helps keep it mine. The motion sensor still clicks on at odd times. I tell myself it's ducks shifting, but deep down, I know it's a reminder. That night taught me a locked door is just a promise you make to yourself. The world doesn't always agree to keep it. I've been a line supervisor in Dayton for over 20 years. Everything in our plant ties back to your badge. You swipe at the gate, swipe at the terminal, and your name pops green on my grid. It tells me who's late, who forgot their ID again, and who needs a replacement shift. It's routine, and routine is safety. It was April 2021, just another Tuesday night shift. We had a skeleton crew scheduled, maybe 30 guys total, spread across 2 lines. Around 10:58 p.m., one of the monitors in the office dinged. Another employee had clocked in. The name on the log made me stop. Brian D. I froze with my coffee halfway to my mouth. Brian D. had been gone for 2 years. The press on line 6 took him. An accident back in 2019. I was there that night. I remember the panic, the sirens, the way everyone gathered in the break room afterward. Nobody saying much. His locker still had a note taped inside from a joke we pulled on him, and nobody ever touched it. Losing Brian left a hole in the place you could feel. And yet, the system said he'd clocked in at 10:58. At first, I thought maybe someone had reused his badge number by mistake. Some admin error. But I checked the archive. Brian's badge had been deactivated right after the accident, and all his belongings, including his badge, had been handed over to his family. It shouldn't have scanned. And yet there it was. I pulled the camera feed for the employee entrance. Grainy footage, but clear enough to see a man swipe a badge and walk in. He was wearing our standard uniform. Dark coveralls, work boots, cap pulled low. From the angle, I couldn't make out his face. But the posture, the walk, it was familiar. My gut twisted. I left the office and went out onto the floor. Both lines were running fine. Guys at their stations, everything normal. I counted heads. Everyone scheduled was there. No extra bodies. Whoever had scanned in wasn't standing at a machine. I radioed security. Checked the cameras. We've got a phantom clock in, name's Brian D. There was a pause. Then, John, we saw it too. Someone's in the building. The night shift runs lean, and we all know each other. An unfamiliar face stands out. I walk the floor scanning every face. No Brian. No mystery worker. Just the same tired guys I'd seen 100 times. That's when security called back. North stairwell cam picked him up, headed upstairs towards storage. I grabbed one of the maintenance leads, a solid guy named Tom, and we went up. The second floor of the factory is mostly unused storage. Racks of old parts, obsolete molds, pallets of paperwork no one wants to throw out. It's quiet up there, just the noises of the building itself. We walk the aisles. Nothing. Then my radio crackled again. He's on the west catwalk, heading toward the exit. We rushed over. From below, I caught a glimpse. Dark coveralls, cap, slow pace, like he belonged there. Tom shouted, "Hey!" The man didn't turn. He just kept walking toward the delivery bay. Security intercepted him at the delivery gate. 2 guards stepped in front. Hands out. "Badge," one said. The man stopped. For the first time, he looked around. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn plastic badge. Brian's badge. One guard took it, looked at it, then at me as I caught up. My stomach dropped. It was Brian's ID. Same photo, same name. I finally saw the man's face when he lifted his head. It was Kevin, one of Brian's closest friends from the floor. Kevin had left the factory weeks after Brian was gone, said he couldn't stand the place without him. I hadn't seen him in over a year. "Kevin?" I said. He blinked at me like I was the stranger. "He's still here," he murmured. His voice was hoarse, raw. "You don't understand. Brian's still here." One guard took a half step forward. "Sir, you need to come with us." Kevin shook his head. I clocked him in. I had to. If his name's on the log, it means he's not gone. Not really. The words chilled me more than seeing him with the badge. The guards gently but firmly took his arms. He didn't fight, just kept staring past us, like maybe Brian was standing somewhere behind me. The police came. Kevin didn't resist. They found no weapon on him, nothing dangerous, just Brian's old badge and a small bundle of personal things in his pocket. A folded photo of the 2 of them at a company picnic. A set of Brian's keys he must have kept after the accident. Later, they told me Kevin had broken into the HR office weeks earlier and dug through old storage to find the badge. He'd been trying to swipe it in at different doors, waiting for a chance to get inside. When they interviewed him, he said he couldn't accept that Brian was gone. That the factory felt empty, wrong, without him. That he just wanted one night where Brian's name lit up the system again. Proof he wasn't forgotten. It wasn't malice. It wasn't sabotage. It was grief turned sideways into something eerie and unsettling. The system log shows Brian D. clocked in at 10:58, April 14th, 2021, and right below it, access denied, when Kevin tried to swipe out with the same badge hours later. I've seen a lot of strange things in factories. Accidents, breakdowns, even pranks. But nothing rattled me like seeing Brian's name pop up on that log 2 years after he was gone. Kevin's arrest made the papers for a day, buried on page 6. Most people saw it as a sad footnote, nothing more. But for those of us who worked with Brian, it cut deeper. We all carried his absence in different ways. Kevin just carried it the wrong way until it bent him. I still have the printout from that night, folded and worn, tucked in the back of my locker. Brian D., 10:58 p.m. Sometimes I look at it and wonder if Kevin was right in a way. Maybe Brian really is still here, in the hum of the machines, in the way the shift flows. But I also know this. Routine is supposed to be solid, reliable. That night reminded me how fragile it really is, and how grief can twist even the most ordinary systems into something haunting. Now, every time I hear the beep of the scanner, I look at the monitor, just to make sure the name that pops up belongs to someone who's still alive. My name is Jasmine. Most people just call me Jazz. I'm 27, a nurse in New Orleans. By the 3rd month of night shifts, I thought I had the rhythm down. Finish last rounds, sign off meds, badge out, elevator, garage, car, home, shower, sleep. That particular week, I was working oncology, leaving after 12 hours that had stretched into 13. My tote bag was heavy. My mask left red lines on my cheeks, and my body moved like it had its own schedule. The hospital garage sits across the access road, a concrete box with buzzing fluorescent tubes and stairwell doors that slam like they're mad at you. On good nights, I like the echo. You can hear your own steps and know if you're alone. That night, I just wanted silence in my bed. I parked on 3B, same row I always use. Habit is half survival. My flip-flops slapped too loud as I walked toward the exit ramp, keys wedged between my fingers the way my mom taught me. I didn't hear her arrive, but suddenly I saw a girl. She was under a cone of light near the ramp mouth, moving back and forth in a line like she was tracing the seam of the concrete. Thin hoodie zipped halfway despite the heat, sleeves pulled over her hands. Her ponytail was messy, like she'd tied it in a hurry and forgot about it. She was talking to herself, not loud, but like a private mantra. I froze halfway down the row. Training pulled me two ways at once. Nurses don't ignore someone crying, but women don't walk towards strangers alone in garages. I hesitated, then called out, "Hey, you okay?" She stopped like someone had unplugged her, just halted mid-step. Slowly, she lifted her face toward me. Her eyes looked too bright in that light. Her mouth wasn't moving, but looked like it wanted to. "Security's right there," I said, pointing at the booth by the exit. She didn't answer. She turned and ran, straight into the stairwell. The heavy door slammed, echoing up the concrete. I went to the door, pulled it open, and leaned in. No footsteps, no breathing, just emptiness. At the booth, the guard, Alton, I think, though I always mix it up, saw me hovering. "Something wrong, ma'am?" "There was a girl," I said, "pacing, crying. She just ran into the stairwell." He toggled his monitor, radioed another guard. "Unit 2, stairwell check 3B, exit." To me, "Stay by your car." The second guard, older, alert, took the stairs loud on purpose. His steps echoed, then faded. 10 minutes later, he returned, shaking his head. No one there, no doors propped. "She was right there," I said again. "We'll keep a lookout," the first guard told me, in that tone you use when you want to calm someone without promising anything. I drove home unsettled, convincing myself it was a lost patient's daughter or someone waiting for a ride. The world is full of simple explanations. The next night, I worked late again. Same garage, same elevator hitch, same hot air pressing against me as I stepped out on 3B. She was there, same spot, same hoodie, same ponytail, same sleeves pulled over her hands, same pacing. 4 steps, turn, or back. This time she stopped sooner, lifted her face toward me like she'd been expecting me. My hand twitched toward my phone, then toward my keys, then back again. I didn't call out. My feet chose for me. I walked to my car. She didn't move, just watched me. Her eyes caught the light in a way that made them look like glass, perhaps because of the tears. My hands shook so badly I fumbled the unlock button. The chirp echoed way too loud in the garage. I slid into the car, pulled the lock down manually, and started the engine. When I looked back through the rear window, she was still standing there, sleeves over her hands, staring. I told my charge nurse the next day. He radioed security to monitor the exit at shift change. They promised to check. That evening, I stalled after work so I could leave with a crowd. Respiratory peeled off toward their cars, residents chattered about labs, everyone splitting into smaller streams. I walked with them, feeling safer in numbers. The ramp mouth was empty. Empty should have felt better. It didn't. A few hours later, a police officer came to the unit office to take a statement. He had a notebook, pen, calm face. Asked what time, what she looked like, what she said. I admitted I couldn't make out the words. He asked if she approached me. I said no. Vehicle? Didn't see one. He said they'd check footage. When they called me down to view it, the contradiction set in. The cameras showed me walking across the garage, the guard looking up, the stairwell door bouncing shut. But the space where she had paced was empty. The second night's tape jumped once, just a tiny skip, and then showed me hurrying to my car. No hoodie, no pacing, nothing. The officer didn't call it a glitch, and I respected him for that. He just said, "Nothing visible at the time you described." After that, I started parking on level 5, right under the security camera. I saved the escort number. Sometimes Alton, or Elton, walked me out, telling stories about his twins who never slept at the same time. Sometimes a female guard with a tight bun walked with me, eyes locked on the stairwell door as we passed. Both made it easier. Not easy. The weird part is how small echoes became weighted. A laundry cart squeak sounded like pacing. A resident in a hoodie jogging across the deck made me flinch. Even my own steps, when the garage was empty, seemed to mimic her rhythm. 4, pause, 4 back. 2 Sundays later, I dragged my friend Danny, day shift, still believes in naps, out there to see. We stood under the light by the ramp. She pointed at the stairwell door and said, "Those hydraulics are stiff. She must have pushed hard to make it slam." We waited. Nothing happened. Eventually we left, both pretending the silence meant something reassuring. The police never called back with an update. No missing person matched. The garage stayed what it always was, a concrete box that hums and decides who it wants to let you see. I avoid 3B now. I park farther away, under the cameras, and I don't apologize for asking for an escort. I don't look toward it, not because I'm scared of a girl in a hoodie, but because I don't know which would be worse. Seeing her again exactly where she stood, or seeing nothing at all and knowing the sound is only mine to carry. I work nights cleaning the 3rd floor of an office building in downtown Portland. That December, rain had been hammering the city, the kind that slicks sidewalks until they shine like black glass under the street lamps, the kind that makes every bus smell like wet wool. My shift runs from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. By then, the building is dead quiet. Elevators parked, motion lights buzzing, vents humming. The lemon disinfectant from my cart mixes with burnt coffee from the break rooms and clings to my hoodie. That smell follows me home on the bus. People sit 1 seat over when they catch it. I usually park the cart in the closet, start at the marketing office, vacuum straight rows, empty bins with receipts and granola bar wrappers, wipe glass and keyboards, disinfect touch points, bathrooms last. Same order, every night. The 3rd floor is 2 long halls forming a rectangle. At the ends of each hall are staff-only stairwell doors, the kind that should be bolted after hours. That Tuesday, I was tired but holding it together. Around 11, I was emptying bins by the north stair. The door creaked. Not open, just enough for the hinge to groan. Then the handle jiggled. I froze. The sound was wrong. It wasn't air pressure or pipes settling. That was a hand. I set the bin down and pressed myself against the wall, out of sight of the wired glass. The handle jerked again, slower now, like whoever was there was testing different angles. Then, footsteps on the concrete stairwell. Going up. I pulled my phone and called security. 3rd floor north stair door. Someone's testing the handle right now. They told me to stay on the line. I heard another guard's boots through the radio. Then Luis, the guard I knew, answering from the south stair. My phone picked up his voice a second before my ears did in real space. North stair, 3rd floor. He knocked once. Security. Identify yourself. Silence. He pressed the bar from our side. The door opened into the stairwell. Just concrete, rain smell, and echoes. Empty. He let it close, then I heard his boots on the stairs, heading up. I stayed in Suite 301 with the lights off, door locked, phone in my hand. Through the wall, I heard footsteps moving higher. Minutes later, the radio crackled. Subject on 5. Tried a door. By the time we reached the hall, no one visible. Cameras caught him at the landing. Put up, never showing his face, then gone again into the stairwell. I came back jumpy, finished the second floor faster than ever, then walked a perimeter on 3 before starting. That's when I saw the north stair door wasn't sitting flush. Down at the hinge, a folded newspaper was wedged into the jamb, keeping the latch from catching. The paper was damp, date fresh. He'd propped it. I didn't touch it. I called Luis. He came with another guard, crouched, pulled it out with 2 fingers, slid it into a plastic bag. He didn't smile when he said, "Good catch." They swept. Cameras showed the alley exit door swing open for a second, then close again. No figure. Upstairs, a grainy frame caught just the back of a head slipping past. The rest looked like an empty building behaving itself. Building management sent an email to tenants about tailgating awareness and stairwell security. It had bullet points and clip art. My name wasn't in it, of course. My job is to make it look like nothing happened. But what stuck wasn't an image. I never saw his face. What stuck was the sound, the handle jiggling in quick, testing pulls, and that folded newspaper in the frame telling me he wasn't improvising. He was planning to come back. Fear at night isn't screaming. It's small choices you make before something happens. It's locking a door behind you, even if you're only inside for 5 minutes. It's carrying a flashlight you may never need, just for the feel of it in your pocket. And if I ever hear that handle jiggling again, I'll do what I did. Call, step into 301, and shut the door. That's the kind of brave I can afford past midnight on a rainy Portland night. If what chilled you wasn't the intruder, it was how normal the night shift looked until it wasn't. Smash that like button, subscribe so you never miss the next scare, and tell me in the comments which story messed you up the most tonight. And if you think night shifts are bad, wait until you're miles from anyone, and the only thing watching is the tree line. Click now to watch 4 scary countryside horror stories. Because when there's no town, no sirens, and no neighbors, the only person coming for you is the one already outside. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.